Alrighty, what are we gonna look at here? We got a lot. Anyway, for anyone who's tuning in and for the video, these are some comic books that I have had stored for many, many years and which I've owned. Some of these go back to the very early 80s, I believe. And I'm going to show you the box that they're in right now that I'm pulling out. They're in this. This is just one crate with most of my favorites, Brave and the Bold, Spider-Mans, and a bunch of number ones. I believe it's all my first issues. Unfortunately, none of them are in amazing condition because I have read them all 1,000 times. But this was a special issue. It was a giant. And it's a team up that's Marvel and DC. Hulk is from Marvel and DC was Batman. And what I love about this is I believe this is... Who's the illustrator? Oh, Lewis and Lopez. Okay. Cover is by Jim Aparo, I believe. He was my favorite artist. Could be wrong. I'm not going to go through the whole issue. I'll do that another time. But it even had an inside cover. Batman and Hulk team up. I always like this issue. I'm just going to skim through it real fast. Batman and Hulk are my two favorite superheroes. Spidey was second. I'm going to do this quick live video. Try to show a few number ones. This is, I don't even know how big this is. This is like a 15-inch maybe. This is how it is compared to a regular comic book size. And that's The Last Starfighter, which was a movie back in the 80s. I had a favorite panel in here, which is Hulk throwing a car at Batman. And Batman, I think it was a whole page too, diving through the open windows of it. And I just thought, as a kid, that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Hey, happy birthday there, Trips World. How old are you? Or how young? Hope you're having a great day. First day of summer officially, I believe, is 21st. Here it is, him jumping, Hulk throwing a car, and he dove through the window. If you're young and were a comic book fan, I hope you enjoyed them. 12, hey, happy birthday, 12, that's fantastic. I have a 13-year-old daughter going on 14. Don't know if you're a comic book fan. These are going back to when I was your age. Some of these, I believe, go back to like 1981, and that's when I was about 12. Hey Goku, how are you? Hope you're doing well. I just decided to take a different route today and show off some of my old comic books. And I've had them for a long time and I was thinking about doing it. So I was going to pull out a bunch of first issues and just show you guys the covers and things. And I figure if people enjoy it, I'll come back and do it again and maybe start a new page of collections. Because I collected comic books, I collected CDs, records, thing, baseball cards. I have to find my cards because I have cards going back to The Empire Strikes Back, I believe, Raiders of the Lost Ark, or Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, I believe. So when you used to get trading cards back from the Ice Cream Man and stationaries. Hey, how was the parade? I hope it was great. Where are you, Trips World? That it was the Pride Parade. In heat wave. It's hot here in New York as well. So I hope you had a good Pride Parade, by the way. Hope it went well. Oops, things are gonna fall. Anyway, this is an old issue here. Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a good week or so, but I didn't know how to go about it. But I figured I would just start with a live video and then turn it into just a recorded one. Bellefontaine, Ohio. It was in Columbus. Well, that makes sense. Columbus is the big city there. Good. I hope you had a great one. Did you have a good turnout? I'm going to move on to the next. Oh, let me just show the back cover. That's a cool back cover. So again, if you're just tuning in, this is a DC Marvel mashup, which is unheard of. And I don't know, didn't look into the history of it or study it. I was just going through and showing people. But Hulk is Marvel, Batman is DC. So it's really cool to see the combo here. And I've had this forever. And this is huge. Like I said, this is a regular size comic book. And that's the double size one. And I've had it forever. I should look up what year it was. It's good. Yes, my dad doesn't like LB. Oh, for real? Well, I'm sorry to hear that about your dad. Everybody should. I have kids, and I would accept them no matter which way they went. And I would say I've almost always been accepting of it. Obviously, back in the 70s, early 80s, we joked a lot about that kind of stuff. But, you know, hopefully you grow as a human being, become more empathetic, and start putting yourself in other people's shoes and know the difference. And, yeah, and I had friends who were gay in college. And I was one of the straight ones. And I also worked in publishing in the city and surrounded by a lot. And I worked in New York City. So, yeah, actually, this is 1981. There it is. Anyway. Well, I'm glad your mom accepts it, and you'll find plenty of other people that are fine with that. And not only just fine with it, but accepting. That's the way it should be. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own ways, and you are what you are. So hopefully you'll go through life and... Although nowadays, with the way the world is, thanks to Donald Trump, at 12, yeah, I can understand that. I don't really have any advice for you, I'm sorry to say. I would hope that you had loving parents no matter what, and you could say whichever it was. I know I said it to my kids, you know, even jokingly, but I'm like, you know I'm serious. If you ever wanted to admit something to me, then I'm totally fine with it. I love you no matter what. And that's the way it should be. Maybe give it another year until you feel more comfortable. It's a hard thing. He should be accepting. He should be. But I don't know your dad. Anyway, if anyone's ever seen the movie Conan the Destroyer, oh, by the way, this is my box. I used to do sort of outsider art for painting as a fun thing. And I have my paint and my brushes in here. I don't do it anymore, though. I've moved on to writing songs. So Conan the Barbarian was a movie that came out. I'm going to scroll you in there by hand. Oh, there's a bunny rabbit behind me. I'm going to show you the bunny rabbit. There he goes. And it starred Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I wish I had an answer for you. I wish I could help. I can't. Everyone's different, and I don't know your situation. But I can tell you that he should accept you no matter what and embrace you for it. You know? Anyway. I'm just going to go through these first issues. So 12 years old, you are in most likely 7th grade going into 8th. Probably my daughter is going into 9th. She's going into high school. 13 going on 14. Luca, how are you? My day is going okay. Yeah, it's been kind of a slow Saturday, which is normally good. But yeah, I'm out of work right now, so I'm not happy. Stressed out. Very stressed. Anyway, Conan the Barbarian. I'm going to go through a whole bunch of comic books. Apparently these are my first issues. I'm going to just show the covers and go full. 5th grade, homeschooled. 5th grade at 12? Okay. Oh, homeschool, that's why I probably started a little late. I feel like I was 9 or 10 in 5th grade. Anyway. Next, I'm going to go with The Last Starfighter, which was a movie that came out, I believe, also in like the very early 80s. It wasn't a very good movie. I didn't like it, but everybody was trying to capitalize on the Star Wars phenomenon, which came out years earlier, and all these Star Wars movies that followed. Next, this isn't the first issue. I wanted to show this. Okay, well, I know I have the first issue. But I have one of the early issues. I have the first issue of She-Hulk. I'll find that one. My favorite comic books were Batman, Brave and the Bold. Those are my favorites. I love Batman and The Incredible Hulk. And mostly because I had favorite artists. I love Jim Aparo, who used to do the covers for the Brave and the Bold. Not the covers, he used to do the artwork. And then Sal Buscemi and John Buscemi. I think they were father and son artists. And Sal used to do Incredible Hulk comics, a lot of them. And John, I believe, is the one who did the Conan the Barbarians, but that's not him. That's somebody else. They would usually do the interior art. But these were how my favorites went. So anyway, let's go with the Falcon. Wow, ready for this? #1 issue of the Falcon. One day I'll come back and I'll do an issue, a video, I think, if people seem to enjoy this. And again, we're going back into the 80s. #1 of the 4-issue limited series. I'm curious to find out if I have all 4. I probably did. Let me try to square it off so you can see it's #1 there. Yeah, Harley and the Joker are DC. They're Batman's nemesis. DC, by the way, I don't know if you know, stands for Detective Comics. So that's where they came from. Batman appeared in Detective Comics, The Brave and the Bold, and I believe it was just Batman or Dark Knight. I can't remember. There was a third series, a type that carried Batman. So that's Falcon. If you're watching all these movies on Disney and everything now, Vision and Scarlet Witch. I'm gonna do a quick look and see what year that came out. It doesn't say it here. 1982. See that? November 82. I was about, in November, I might have been 13 at that point. Oh, wow. So interesting. Wow. 1982. Blade Runner, the original, the comic book based on the film. For a lot of these film comics, they originally would do the comic based on the script, an early draft. So they didn't have the full movie version yet. I'm going to back it up so you can see it. That's so cool, though. Yeah, Joker, well, he's a psycho, right? He's psychotic. I mean, so was Harley too. But Harley came out for me years earlier. I don't know if she existed before the 90s when she came out in the comics. And by the 90s, I was already 20-something years old, living in New York City and working in book publishing. And yeah. So I don't remember Harley before that. Now I've got, let's see, Hercules, Prince of Power. Some of these I'm just going to go fast forward. That's based on the hero. I don't remember that being very good. I don't think it went very far. I don't remember when this came out. This was called Superman: The Secret Years. February 85. Interesting. That's right, yeah, she fell for Joker, right? Despite everything. It always starts with a tank of weird goo. All right, if you were old enough, and I know you're not, but if you lived back in the early 80s and there was Spider-Man and Friends and Iceman, who was originally an X-Man as well, I believe, but I loved the idea of Iceman. I thought he was the coolest character. I don't think this series went very far as well, but this is my #1. And that is probably from the same, sometimes it says the year up right here, but it doesn't. Oh, 84, there we go. Sometimes it says it here, sometimes it says it there. 1984, Tank of Weird Goo. Could be a band name. Beauty and the Beast. This is a Beast miniseries. Beast from the X-Men. One of these days I'll go through this. I'm just going to try to go through them all just so I can eventually just post this as an original video. And if people like it, then I'll just keep doing more. Appreciate you being here, by the way, Trips. You have to be 14 to do that, so you have to wait. No remembrance of this. I was into collecting first issues when they came out. Solomon Kane. I feel like that was something that existed even before my time. Least favorite comic. Wow, there's so many. I wonder what hero I like the least. I don't even know. Who's my least favorite? I don't know if I have a least favorite because I probably never bought them and collected them. I just said no way. Unpopular channels. Yeah, oh, that's a good point though. Yeah, because when someone doesn't have any followers in the comments, they don't comment back. I know I always answer my comments because, I mostly do music and guitar. I play and write songs on this channel. But I was thinking about doing a separate one. I was also thinking about doing a separate one because I do woodworking on the side as well. And I watch a lot of woodworking videos, but I'm not accomplished enough at it, but it's something I may do as just an amateur one and just to put up different videos. But I figured I would start here, and anybody who comments on it is, great. I'm very grateful for that. Luca, are you there? Do you have a least favorite? Because I can't think of one offhand. I probably wouldn't have bought it. Here's another one called Wolfpack. No idea. Just a gang of young ruffians from the 80s. No memory of this. Oh, trips. None of that. Well, let's see. What I play or what I listen to. What I listened to through my whole life was I was a huge Beatles fan, and then and Buddy Holly and Elvis when I was young, and then as I got older, I got into new wave and alternative. But my favorite bands throughout my life are the Beatles, still to this day, because they are the band that set everything up for other people to do. The Cure. I'm a huge fan of The Cure. Their new album is really good, but I've been a fan of them since mid '80s. And everything from Depeche Mode and REM and Nirvana, and then Iron and Wine today. I listen to a lot of Americana and still a lot of new wave. I listen to bands like Warpaint, I don't even know how to explain these bands anymore. Indie bands. Milky Chance, Big Thief. Adrienne Lenker is the solo artist from there, so people know her before they even know the band. What I play is I just play acoustic guitar and I write my own songs, and I'm not really influenced by anybody because I just play what I'm able. I write and play what I'm able to do. So it's not like I'm trying to be somebody because I started only 8 years ago at the age of 47. And I'm 55 now. The Beatles and Buddy Holly, yeah, I barely heard any of their music because Tech Nine. Okay, so just FYI, the Beatles. Go check out the White Album. That's their double LP from 1970 or 69 or 70. They're kind of credited at times with being maybe the first metal song, and Helter Skelter. And then you can listen to Everybody's Got Something to Hide, except for Me and My Monkey. But Helter Skelter is by some considered to be the first heavy metal song. There are going to be plenty of people who argue that. There might be somebody else that came out ahead of time. But it's great to know the Beatles because they are the original band that they changed music in a matter of 10 years. And they went from soft poppy stuff, and then they started experimenting. And once they started learning how to do engineering, they would start with distortion and raising their voices. If you ever get a chance, just read up on them because they were so interested in doing things the way nobody could do them. And Paul taking his bass and getting it to where he would push it to the levels where it would just distort. Buddy Holly was rockabilly, the early days of rock and roll rockabilly, and he's the reason why the Beatles got into the music too, because they loved Beatles loved Elvis and rockabilly and Little Richard. Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody is a classic by the Queen, and Nirvana's fantastic. If you like rock and grunge rock, that album you can't miss. You can't deny that. This is Ghost Rider. I don't believe, is this a first issue? It is the first issue of Ghost Rider. I don't have the comic, but I remember where I was and when it was that I bought it. I bought it at the stationery over in Malvern, New York, Long Island. And I read this thing 1,000 times because I thought it was the coolest and creepiest thing ever. I was like maybe 12. Oh, December 79. I had just turned 10, like a couple months earlier. Yeah, I would like the cover. I wish I had the cover. These comics have all been read and reread 100,000 times. Oh, there's a nice ad for the Saturday morning cartoons. Back when I was young, you couldn't watch whatever you wanted, whenever you wanted. Cartoons were only like between 6 and 7 a.m. on a weekday, and 2 to 4 p.m. if you were lucky on a weekday afternoon, and then Saturday mornings. There was nothing to watch. This is before the internet. This is before Cablevision, before DVDs, VCRs. You just had your channels. There was sad times. All right, this one I am a pride and joy too because that's a pride. I wish I had the cover to that. It would be something. This is G.I. Joe, The Real American Hero. This is the first issue that came out, I want to say in 85-ish, June. I actually have two of these. One is in worse condition. The middle comes out. But What I like about this comic is because it was printed on a special paper. It's not the same kind of comic paper. It's a little thicker, the color's a little more vibrant. And this is more of a, just a thicker pack. It came out, let's see, June of '82. This is before the TV cartoon series. This is what started it all, and then all the G.I. Joe not the big 12-inch G.I. Joes that came about in the 70s and then re-emerged in the 90s. But this led to the little, what were they, 7-inch figures, 6-inch figures? Blue Jay. Sorry, I'm trying to put it back in the bag because I don't want to forget that. And the Blue Jay's very excited by this. You can hear him. Anyway, that's G.I. Joe, the very first issue. So that's amazing. That's from, what did I say, '82? That's crazy. All right, a first issue of, this is not, it's not the first issue of X-Men, but they must have, it's a special edition. The new X-Men, they're calling it. All right. 1982 as well. This is not the original X-Men. The X-Men were created years earlier. Special edition of that one, though. The new X-Men. I'll have to delve into that next time. And the first issue of Robin. This looks more like his 90s. Oh, there we go, 91. This I bought years later, during my college years. I started buying a few comics again after that. Bohemian Rhapsody? It's a genius song. That's why it's so popular. That's why everyone so loves it. If you've ever watched the movie Wayne's World, they do a really great shtick with that in the car. It's really funny. Yeah, you'd have to be a genius to be able to do that too. All right, I'm gonna move some of these out of the way because it's getting big. This is Conan the Barbarian, the movie special. So not the same as the Conan that I did earlier. Oops, oh, Conan the Destroyer. Conan the Destroyer was the sequel. That's right. Conan the Barbarian was the original movie. Interesting. Which one, this one or that one? There's so many good ones. I love comic books. I love them. Well, I loved them when I was younger. But still, the covers were what was key. Where was I? I lost my... I want to move on to the next one. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, because I have this thing blogging it. I'm outside. The Blue Jay gave it away. That's the movie special. This one never came about, never got bigger. But Gem, Son of Saturn, DC, 1984. Yeah, well, I have so many, but they're all like, one-time issues, and I've read them all so much that most of them are not worth a lot because they're not in great condition. People who want to collect comics want to collect the best. Oh, all right, you ready for this? Boom. Return of the Jedi, first issue. It's been read, but this came out when I think the movie came out, what, 82 or 83 Jedi? 83, I want to say, because 77 for Star Wars. I want to say 81 for Empire, and so 2 years later, Jedi. That's what I'm thinking. Oh, let me just tell you, from 3, 2 sometimes, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are the best years. I love my kids at that age and taking care of little kids. They're a hassle, don't get me wrong, exhausting. But if they're doing all right and parents are raising them right, they can be the greatest thing ever. That's Return of the Jedi. The Phantom Zone was a spin-off for Superman. Phantom Zone is where Jor-El and everybody on Superman's home planet would send the bad guys to. If you ever watched the original Superman movie with Christopher Reeve, Zod, and I can't remember the other two people now offhand, the characters, they got sent to the Phantom Zone at the beginning and then later on at the end. Maybe it was at the end of Superman 2. Can't remember now. But I actually met the original Zod, Terrence Stamp, in New York City one day when I was walking home from my job. And he was a jitney bus. So it was really cool. And he's the only famous person I ever went up to and introduced myself to. I never bothered the famous people in Manhattan because they were just trying to go about their days. The All-Star Squadron. This was like your classic 1950s superhero DC heroes, the what they consider the golden age of DC. This wasn't made in 1982, but it's still kind of cool. The original Green Lantern and Flash, Wonder Woman, and I don't know who that is. I was not a huge DC fan. I was more a fan of just my certain favorite heroes. Magic. I have no memory of when I bought this or what it's about. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, everything's terrible right now, and I can't imagine the pain she's in. 44. That's 12 years younger than me. 11 going on 12. I hope she gets better soon. I hope something can get better for her. We all have our ups and downs with health, so. This is the All-Star Squadron, which is also the going back to the early days. That's kind of like very much like the Watchmen kind of took their key from that. You're too young for the Watchmen, but it's kind of that idea of the old school superheroes. It's the original Hawkman right there. I don't know who these guys are. I want to say this guy's name is Spectre or something like that. But I could be completely, no, that's Spectre, so I'm wrong there. Who knows? Who knows? A first issue of Superboy that came out in the 80s at some point. All right, let's see. Let's find out what the date is. January 1980. Alrighty, there you go. Copyright was 1979, so they were finishing it up right before that. I'm gonna give it 1 second, I just want to put it right back in. So as you can see, these comics they are not in mint condition. But it's cool to have them. And I kept them for so many years. I remember people started making a lot of money. She has to walk around like, oh man, that's got to be so painful. Probably taking a lot of Advil. And just that walking on it just makes it worse. The swelling probably continues. All right, this was a silly comic that came out at some point. I thought it was really cool, and they comboed it with Superman. Captain Carrot and his amazing zoo crew. And like I said, someday I'm going to go through all of these one by one. So I'll do like a special video on each one, I think, if people get interested in it. Here it is, my second. I told you I had 2 issues of this. I have 2 number 1s of G.I. Joe. The original one that came out in the mid-80s, early 80s. Printed on special paper. It was actually advertised on television as well, which is crazy. And it came out, I think, just prior to the cartoon series, or shortly before. Yeah, just prior, shortly before, duh. But yeah, it was really cool to get this and see this. No, your dad read that? I didn't think anybody knew what that was. That's hilarious if he did. Yeah, well, that's admirable that we want to work for your mom. Just keep taking care of her as best you can and just go easy on her, yeah. All right, here it is. I do have it. You ready for this? I hope you've seen the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, the first movie that came out in 1981. They actually made the comic. And I've had this comic since then. And I remember my brother and I going to the movies that day, back in Malvern again, visiting my grandmother. That's crazy that he read that. Luca, my favorite heroes are Batman and the Hulk. My third favorite is Spider-Man. And I don't know if you were here at the very beginning. I'm just going to show you my special giant edition that came out in like 1981, where they paired Batman versus the Hulk. Look, and this is so much bigger. And I've had this forever, since 1980. Let's see, what am I going to say? 1981, right there. I've never got rid of it. I kept saying someday, hoping someday they'll be worth something, or I'll give them to my kids and maybe they'll be worth something then. Japanese myths and legends, but it's lost because, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool, right, Luca? I remember buying this. It was in the stationery. I could be wrong. I remember the stationery, but it was in a. It was too big for the comic stand itself, so it was probably more with the books. Let me back it up a little so I can see it. Yeah, it's so cool. Like that's a DC Marvel mashup. But I've had it forever. You know, I'm 55 now. And I bought most of these when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. Going back, this is considered a cult classic with Peter Weller, the man who went on to become RoboCop, was in a movie called Buckaroo Banzai. I don't blame you. I would want to as well. Buckaroo Banzai. I couldn't get into that movie when I was younger, and I tried watching it again years later. It's campy. It's odd. People love it. It's a cult classic. And again, this is probably from like 1981 or something. Most of these are from very early 80s, some late 70s. I'm also at some point want to go through my old baseball cards, and I was saying that I have all of my collector's cards from Raiders of the Lost Ark or Indiana Jones and E.T. and Empire Strikes Back. That's Buckaroo Banzai. Then Annie from the hit movie in also the early 80s, 1982. They did a comic book for Annie. Annie, of course, has been in the newspapers for years earlier. It might go back to the 50s, or maybe earlier than the 50s, 40s. I feel like it could be as a comic strip. But they made a comic to go with the movie. What's the movie version and the Broadway version? I actually saw it on Broadway with my school in 7th grade. So I have two versions. I have two of The Last Starfighter. For some reason, that was supposed to be the Star Wars. They're trying to make it like Star Wars and win on that one, but it didn't go very far. High Adventure. I bought this, I think, late 80s, early. Oh, Marvel. That's so. Marvel, yeah. First issue, 1984. I don't think there's anything on the back. I remember the comics. I think I remember the comic store I bought it in. It wasn't near my house. I could be wrong now. That was expensive. $2 was a high price back then. Yeah, I'll put it back up to where did I put it. They have a comic for it. Yeah, because back when they made the film with Carol Burnett as Mrs. Haggerty. What was her name? Mrs. Haggerty? I can't remember who played Annie. Hannity? Something like that. That's not it. All right, so I have no idea where this came from. I mean, I remember getting it. I just thought this was the coolest thing because I love the artwork. Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham with Hulk Bunny, Captain America. Captain Americat. I just thought this was the craziest thing. You can't buy these anymore. It was just the coolest stuff. I don't even know where I found them, where I saw them. I love the art on this. It's just so different. You know, what happens is with these comic strips over the years, comic books, they have to change things so much because they've gone on for 70 years. When did Batman come out? 39? 40? Superman was 30, not 39. Batman was 40, I believe. So we're talking, 80 years of comic books. Yeah, Hagrid is in Harry Potter. I want to say it's like Mrs. Hannity or something like that. Something like that. I can't remember. All right, let's see where I'm going to go with next. I have other issues, like I showed you G.I. Joe and other comics. I have other, like number 5, number 17. So I bought the series for a while. I didn't buy them forever. But I have many of these still in bags as well. Let me see what else. I'm just doing the first issues, and I think I'm down. I still have a bunch here. Let's see. Let's go through them. Hulk vs. Quasimodo. Why? The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I have no memory of this. Rubus Hagrid. Was that it? Really? Yeah, Hagrid was such a gentle giant. No idea when this came out, but I was a Hulk fan, so I kept buying every issue. But that's a weird thing. Here's another one, Power, and that's a number one because it's a special one. Power Pack. Some 80s kids superheroes that they were trying to launch. So they kept trying to do that kind of thing. Again, these are number ones. Green Arrow Special Edition, the series, the limited series, number 1 of 4. Never a Green Arrow fan, but I always did try to pick up the number ones. If you want to go back to the early 80s, 1983. I love how in the first movie Hagrid just burst into a yeah. Oh yeah. The Dark Crystal, starring David Bowie. Huge hit in the 80s. Wait, was David Bowie in that one, or am I thinking of something else? I can't remember. I wasn't a fan. Oh, wow. Okay. Marvel. Contest of Champions. This was really cool because they brought in all the heroes to fight. I can't remember. As I said, I'll go through these issues specifically if people want to see more of it. So after Raiders of the Lost Ark came out and the other ones, they came out with a series of just the further adventures of Indiana Jones, which was really cool. I bought like at least the first 7 of these, and that's number 1. This is probably 1982, 83, 82, 1982. It was a pretty good series. This was interesting, and I think this was before they did the TV show with young Indiana Jones. So it's kind of cool to have that. Oh, I remember Rainbow Bright. Yeah, no, I know Rainbow Bright. I feel like she started before the 90s, but I could be wrong. First issue of Indiana Jones. That's kind of cool. It's a great cover. Huge. Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of my most favorite movies. Steven Spielberg has made some of my most favorite. And Jaws. I love, those are 2 of the greatest movies ever made. Now, people can argue with me, but they are classics and fantastic. And Jaws, the anniversary of it was just yesterday, I believe. When did it come out? 50 years ago? 55 at this point, I guess. This was another rare, weird thing. It's not even DC or Marvel. I must have gotten this in a special comic shop. Wild animals, anthropomorphic antics of funny fauna. That's kind of cool. You still have them? That's pretty wild. There's always people out there collecting this stuff, too. So if you hang on to it, at some point, if it ever, any of those things ever become like a movie at one point where they remake it 30 years later, then that's probably the best time to try and sell this stuff, because then it builds on the desire and the people wanting to get it again. So hang on to it. So here's some older G.I. Joes. Okay, here we go, older She-Hulks. What'd I do? Okay, so now I have some older comics, but they're not number ones. But I only want to show the number ones, so let's see what else I have here. Here we go, Red Sonja. She was a comic strip with Conan the Barbarian. They eventually made a movie of her. That would be Jeffrey the Giraffe. I don't know, that's funny though. You're right. Well, I guess he looks more like a British kind of Jeffrey. It's kind of weird. It's funny. We'll have to go through that issue one day. Red Sonja. They made a movie about her too. This was, never heard of this ever again. Long Shot. Number 1 in the 6th issue. I have a lot of limited series number 1s. Interesting. The West Coast Avengers. So, as you know, and especially from today's movies, that the Avengers were originally set in New York, but I guess they moved part of the team or the team to the West Coast. And Hawkeye was the leader of that? That's funny. Looks like Submariner. That's the Hercules. I forget her name. That's Wonder Man at some point. Don't know. That was Samson, but the friend of the Hulks. That's Rom, Space Knight, Iron Man. I don't know everybody's name here. I think that's Quicksilver way over there, but it could be wrong. British Jeffrey, that's exactly. Really? Oh, so you have to do yourself a favor. If you haven't seen it, Raiders of the Lost Ark, go watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's a classic film. Steven Spielberg's, I want to say it's probably his third blockbuster. He did Jaws, then Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and then Raiders came out, I believe was his next one that was the big hit. And Raiders of the Lost Ark starring Indiana Jones it's classic film, done like the old serials of the 1930s, 40s, and just fantastic. And it's still, to me, one of my favorite movies to this day. Dennis the Menace was a classic comic strip from the how far back does Dennis the Menace go? 40s? I think it's pre-50s, but it could be 50s and earlier. And they eventually made a movie in the early 90s with Mason Gamble, who was the kid from Rushmore, and he was really good, and Walter Matthau. And the movie was actually very good. And Christopher Lloyd played the bad guy. Doc from Back to the Future, who was originally in the show Taxi. So there's a lot going on in the movie. Purple Dude that's Hawkeye. So if you ever go in and watch the Disney Plus stuff, Hawkeye's one of the Avengers. He's played by Jeremy Renner in the Avengers movies. But all those years before, he always wore this hat. He doesn't in the movies at all. Oh yeah, like the old books, like the mass market books. I used to have those too. I used to read them all the time in the comic strips. All right, you ready for this, guys? The Transformers. Everyone's a big fan of those Michael Bay movies, but they're originally just a toy, and then eventually cartoon. And this is a comic strip. This is pre-90s Michael Bay. What year? 1984. The Autobots and Optimus Prime. I was not a huge Transformer fan. I think, older by then. My little brother liked them. He was a little kid. He was 8 years younger than I was. Yeah, I used to have those mass market books. They're really cool. Mass market means the small paperbacks. Come with us. I am Optimus Prime. But yeah, I have that one from 1984. The New Mutants, which I believe they started to try to relaunch them after the X-Men on Disney Plus or something. I think a couple of those kids from New Mutants. That came out more recently. I'm going to try and get faster through this because let's see how many we have. Let's see. Oh, to go with Transformers, there was another kind of version. There were a couple of those robot-y things coming on. So many people love the Transformers, still to this day. My brother, I think, got my nephew a giant Transformer years ago for like his 8th birthday or something. It was huge. He's now like 21, my nephew. Star Wars was, I believe, a lot like the Transformers. Oh man, you ready for this? Another drum roll from the early mid-80s. They're remaking a movie of it now. They made a movie in the late 80s, which was terrible, maybe 1990. But now the original #1 issue of He-Man, Masters of the Universe. It was a cartoon in the 80s. Ninja Turtle. I don't think I have a Ninja Turtle comic, believe it or not, which is crazy. Now we're going to get to some more interesting things, but He-Man, everybody loved He-Man. It's crazy. It's #1 too. And I'll go through these issues again by themselves at another time. Surge, no idea. That looks like the original Wonder Man, but I don't believe it is. Because I thought there was a guy named Wonder Man that looked like him. #1. Let's pull back a little bit here. The Nanny. I remember the Nanny. Fran Drescher. For anybody older, here's another one-shot. This has to be from the 90s. I'm going to look at it first before I put it out there. Because this is on a special paper. Very special. Yeah, it looks much more modern. 1990. Oh, this is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Because this is the Vampire Lestat. I didn't watch the 90s. I mean, the Nanny. I know of it, of course, and it was always on, but that wasn't one of my shows. The Vampire Lestat, had no memory that they even made a comic book of it. This is a character, actually a novel by Anne Rice, one of the greatest adult vampire novels ever. That and Interview with a Vampire. Yeah, I remember it. I can't. How old was I? She was probably 1990s, right? So I was already in my 20s, probably depending on when, either in the middle of college or going to work at that point. This, I have no idea what it is, but another number one issue, six from Sirius. Number one of the four. I didn't necessarily buy the series of these things. It didn't speak to me. I'll have to. It's on Prime. Interesting. Okay, this is kind of cool. Remember I told you earlier about the Brave and the Bold? Jim Aparo. This looks like his. In fact, I was going to say this looks like his art. Jim Aparo was known for giving Batman very long ears, and he had a certain look. Doesn't look like classic him, but you can tell. This is what I love because the JA here for Jim Aparo. I loved his art. This is the classic. They're looking at the 1940s style here. So it's Batman of today versus Batman of the old days. I stole his because my name is Jim Hastings, so I used to do my J and my H like that when I did drawings in school. And I used to sign everything with the JH the same way with the J going through the H. Huge Jim Aparo fan back in the day for Batman. He was my favorite of all the Batman artists. Pre-90s, obviously. Then other guys came in and did a great job. Whisper, no idea what that is. Apparently a ninja, a female ninja. So Brave and the Bold again. Oh, you ready for this? This became a series. So Brave and the Bold ended, and I do have the last issue of Brave and the Bold somewhere. Brave and the Bold was Batman always teaming up with somebody, and I feel like it went into issue like 200 or something like that. I'd have to look that up one day. And then Batman ended up teaming up at some point with the Outsiders, which was really interesting. And that became a thing for a while. Batman and the Outsiders, and that's the very first issue. Batman and the Outsiders. And that's the Jim Aparo art. It's got, yep, I can tell by the ears and the way he draws. J.A. Jim Aparo. He did almost all of the Batman and the Outsider ones that I had. That was his comic. DC was somebody else doing those artworks, and they changed it around. Well, Vampire Lestat is not the Vampire Diaries. That's pretty funny, though. Thanks, Luca. Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? I remember. I think I have the last issue somewhere because I collected all my Brave and the Bolds. One day, if I do a video on this one alone, I'll find that last issue of Brave and the Bold before that because it's kind of a cool preceding segue kind of thing. I've had these for so long. Huge Brave and the Bold fan. I love Jim Aparo's art. Here's a weird combo right here. The X-Men and the Micronauts. If anybody remembers in the 80s, Micronauts were again, they came out as these little metal toys and they were these heroes along with Transformers and Stariors and something else. They were trying to launch everything. Once something takes off, everybody tries to mimic it. It's fun. No, but no, that's from, what is it? The one with Bella. Moonlight? That's the vampire with the glitter, I think. Yeah, so that's what that one is. Vampire Lestat is a much more adult Moonlight series, and whatever that one was more for like YA, for younger people. All right, I've got two in this one here. Everyone watched the movies with the DC of Super Friends, whatever the Superman, Batman, what do they call it? It wasn't very good. Zack Snyder, and I used to be the early years of Zack Snyder were better than the more recent ones. Yeah, Edward, yeah, it's Moonlight, I think is what it originally is called. They did 3 movies with it. That's Robert Pattinson, who played the new Batman. He's actually a really good actor. He's done a lot of good stuff separately. He's in Mickey 17 right now. He was in a movie called The Lighthouse, which you can't watch. You're too young for that. And it's very dark and art housey. And what's her name? Kristen Stewart. She played Bella. This is Cyborg. This was actually in the 80s, so Cyborg was in the movie recently, but it's kind of cool to have the first issue in Tales of the New Titans. I don't know if it was ever the first time revealed at last the Starlings. So he must have been around before because it says revealed at last the startling secrets of Victor Stone. So apparently Cyborg appeared somewhere before. I'm going to flip it over because at some point I was running out of bags, so I flipped them. Arion, Lord of Atlantis. Who knows? I don't think it's Arion. It's Arion or Orion. I'm assuming it's Arion. Another comic here that didn't go anywhere, but check out this cover. Machine Man. That's a pretty cool cover. I have to say. Comic art, comic cover art is amazing. That's cool. You know what you gotta do? You have to go find a really good stick. Find a really good stick and get some sandpaper, and you can sand it down, and you can make your own wand. I'll show you another time if you come back, Trips. I actually found some really good couple of branches that fell off a tree, like large boughs, and I took them and I made them into staffs, and they're really cool. They're sanded down, and then I put some varnish on the outside of them, so they look really, really cool. They're not perfectly straight. I didn't want to cut them down because I wanted them to stay as tall as possible, but you can do that with a stick as well. In fact, I was trying something like that at one point. Let me see if I still have it. Here we go. I had this stick and I started sanding it down. I gave up with it because I was like, why am I doing this? But, and now it's all, I'd have to re-sand it down. Let's see. What's the one for the light? And he corrects it. She's like, no, it's blah, 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 blah. But anyway, if I sanded this back down again and varnished it, it would be a really good wand. So all you have to do is find a really cool stick. And there's actually a site, there's or a vlog or something out there, TikTok, that's called I Found This Stick, I believe it's called. You should check it out. It's people finding really cool sticks. Avada Kedavra. That's cool. Lumos lumps. See, there you go. You know them all. I wish I could remember because my daughter always said, "Oh, something Leviosa, not the Leviosa, Leviosa." So she always does that one. All right, here we go. The Blue Devil. No idea when I got that or what it's about. Lumos. That's another number one. We're going to try and just get through the rest of these number ones, and then I'll call it a day on these. Just a few more left. Oh, here we go. We're talking about Transformers and Star Ears and the Micronauts. That was another one. So yeah, they all started trying to capitalize on the robot-y thing. It's Wingardium Leviosa. Ah, not Leviosa. There you go. Wingardium Leviosa. My daughter used to know. All right, so this is a really cool one. I'm getting through it. This is Rom. I loved Rom. This was drawn by Sal Buscema, who was my favorite artist, who did the Hulk, or maybe this is John Buscema. And John Buscema, one was the father, one was the son. And the cover's coming off. Sorry, I had to kill a mosquito. But I love this art. And he was like the space knight that came, and he would burn people because they were wraiths, secretly creatures from another world. And Rom took off for a while. I believe at some point they tried making Rom into a TV series or a movie, but they just couldn't do it. It was either the budget wasn't there or it's just not enough interest in it because it's such a minor character. But I really liked Rom. I thought the scenes of the wraiths and everything being destroyed was very gory and frightening. It was terrifying in a way, so I thought it was really cool. Sal Buscema, is that how you spell it? I don't know. Oh, Sal Buscema. So Sal, his first name, and Buscema was spelled Buscema. Yeah, let me see if this is inside. Let me open it again. This is one of those ones that has tapes on it. It has tape on it, so it keeps catching. Where's his name? There we go. I'll show it to you right there. Right there where my thumb is. Sal Buscema. I think he was the father and John was the son, or vice versa. I can't remember. But I liked his style. It wasn't exactly, it's funny, you grew up liking a certain thing. Like they weren't the most realistic or the best. It was the old school look their art appealed to me. And then, then you had guys that come around, what's his name? Ross. I have his book. Sal Buscema. Yeah, there you go. That's how you spell it. Here's a weird thing. Here's Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends. The cartoon was on Saturday mornings. There's Iceman right there. Oop. I think her name was Firestar. I could be wrong. And it was a very popular cartoon back in the early mid-'80s. Early 81. There you go. I remember watching it around 6th and 7th grade, so that makes sense. 7th grade, I remember, because I'd be upset when I had a soccer game and I was going to miss it, because I think the show came on at 11 a.m. here in East. And I can't remember if it was Channel 7, ABC or not. Starfire. Okay, there you go. Yeah, so that one. But on the back, I have another first issue, which is, look at this weird one. Another one of these weird that came out of nowhere, but that's kind of cool. Some different artist doing gold. Crazy. And he was like the weird anti-hero. So they were kind of throwing him in, and I don't know where he came from. Maybe from Cracked magazine, or maybe there was a magazine called Crazy. I can't remember. So they put him together with all the Marvel heroes. But that's just kind of cool. Captain America's got a grenade in his mouth. The X-Men, he says exit. So weird. Somebody's trying to spray Spider-Man with Raid. Very much like Mad Magazine, Cracked magazine back in the day. And maybe there was a magazine called Crazy. I feel like there might have been. Maybe that's where it came from. All right, this is not, I don't believe this is originally the very kind of first. Every now and then they come up with new first issues of things. But Wolverine, #1. I don't know if they had another Wolverine years earlier. Slow-mo. No. And then Wolverine. I have no memory when I got this, but it's kind of cool. How long have I been on here? I've been doing this for a while. Oh my God, almost an hour on this. All right, let's wrap this up. That's cool though. All right, another weird one. Obnoxio the Clown in X-Men. What is that? #1. I think I'm coming down to my last few #1s. That's not a #1. I think these are the last two. All right, you ready? Dun, 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 dun. Submariner, #1. Prince Namor. That's how his hair was. That's kind of cool. Submariner is the Aquaman of Marvel, basically. Submariner actually appeared in one of the movies. Which one did it appear in? He was played differently. I didn't watch it. I'm kind of superhero movied out. They just get worse and worse, and I just don't enjoy them anymore. But he was in one recently, and he looks completely different. All right, here it is, the last #1, and we're coming up on 1 hour. He got his own comic, for one. The Thing, Ben Grimm. It's clobbering time. And they're coming up with a new X-Men movie very soon. So that's it for my #1s and my special editions. I have plenty of other odd comics that I'll showcase at some point too if people care about it and they want to tune in. I just want to say thanks very much, Trips, Luca, and whoever else is there. I hope you enjoyed this. Horror fan, but I want to watch Pet Sematary and Hellraiser. Wait, so what, you're 12? It depends on the parent. So I'm the same way. Like my son, we watch certain movies at certain times. The original Pet Sematary, the movie's not that great. The book is so much better. Hellraiser, it'll creep you out. It gets kind of scary at times. We have so much to see, or something like that. Or to show you. So we have so much to show you. Yeah, it's creepy. And it depends on your parents and depends on how much your maturity level with that kind of stuff. But go with whatever your mom says. She's the best person to be looking out for you at all times. Your mom and your dad. Nobody loves you more than your mom. And in some cases, your mom and your dad. People who don't have that, well, then something's just different. It shouldn't be that way. But I hope you guys have a great night. You watch Jigsaw? Oh, wow. I think you'd be okay watching these other movies then. Jigsaw's more modern. They get much more scary and grotesque and visceral. Thanks, I appreciate that, Luca. And thanks, Trips. I hope you guys have a great day and a great evening. And yeah, if I do another one, I'll base it on maybe a first issue or two, and I'll go through them. Make it much shorter than this. But thanks, guys. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for your comments. Hope you have a great weekend. Take care.